And we are here with the Great War Western Front. And Ren, I think this will be a quick stream. I think we'll have this thing wrapped up by Christmas. So let's play a couple turns here of the Great War Western Front, which is the new World War One RTS war game, a hybrid from Petroglyph, and let's achieve total victory.
Yeah, if there's one thing I knew about World War One from my limited understanding and limited familiarity with the nuances of World War One, it's that it ended quickly and well.
Yeah,
And that's why they call it that.
Right, and it ended so well. It was the war to end all wars, and it did. Which is why we've had a century of peace. Thank you to everyone on the Western or Eastern Front, or in the Middle East. You all did it. Thank you. So there's two starting dates that the game gives you. You can sort of start in 1914, right as the trench lines are hardening. That's not super interesting for our purposes. It's a lot of playing with low-tech stuff. So we're just going to dive into a mid-war game, and then we're going to get a little cutscene that gives us some of the history. I'm wondering if the cutscene's gonna be different for the 1916 start. So let's see.
By May of 1916, the casualties of the war could be measured in the millions. Civilian support for the war was evaporating, as were the resources necessary to continue. Germany's U-boats were indiscriminately targeting any ship near the Western Front, while Britain blockaded Germany's ports. New technology made killing even easier, while the front line barely moved. However, several upcoming events would turn the tide of war multiple times, including a revolution and the final straw for a young country across the sea.
And that country was Ireland. This game makes a late pivot into being an Irish insurgency and Civil War game.
Let's
it's
fucking
a real
go.
Twist, let me tell you.
Hell yeah! God.
With the death of the Archduke, Europe is propelled into chaos. Nations honoring treaties and alliances forged years before are now plunged into a conflict they cannot avoid.
Is this the same cutscene?
Sparked by a single
So far.
gunshot. Here on the Western Front, nations draw their battle lines. The Central Powers of Austria-Hungary and Germany now face the combined alliance of France, Britain, and their colonies.
I haven't read or heard the best, the actual day plan of the killing of Franz Ferdinand. Rob, do you have a favorite rendition of that narrative?
No, but it is one of those things that for as momentous an event as it was, it is an absurdly botched assassination. He got away. He had gotten away and basically rolled in front of one of the plotters who was despondent over the failed assassination. And they stopped, trying to figure out where the fuck they were.
What of the French? We have retaken the
Incredible.
but further progress has been negligible.
This is a different cutscene. This is them talking about the state of play in World War One. No, actually, same cutscene. Never mind. Yep.
Have heavy artillery rushed over from England. We cannot risk another retreat.
Okay, perfect. Deconquest in the chat says it was basically a violent "I think you should leave" sketch.
Push back into Belgium. If we don't outflank the enemy,
Perfect.
then we will be at a stalemate.
Thus the Western Front was established. From the fields of Flanders to the borders of Switzerland, the great nations would make their stand. The fate of millions.
Rob, what was the first
now
war you
in
got
hands
into
of
from a military history standpoint? What was the first one that really caught your eye? Was it World War One?
Yeah, I mean, I've been interested in. So when I was a little kid, briefly, because the anniversaries were happening, I got really into World War II. I got really into the Civil War for a period, but I think the first one that I did get seriously into, studying was this was kind of concurrent, I suppose. Would have been World War One and the Peloponnesian War. Those two things, and there's obvious resonance there, since those are both really like the thing that's interesting is the actual like beginning of the war and what led everyone into it. That sort of became one of my major interests. Okay, so yeah. Here at a certain point in the campaign, they start giving you extra research points. So this is the strategic map, and the way this is going to work. So each of these stars on these hexes basically means for someone to take the space,
Yeah.
you have to achieve a major victory. The number of times there are stars on the space. So fittingly enough, like Verdun is basically impossible to take because you would have to win 4 major victories there, and that does not mean 4 wins. Like there's
Right.
gradations of victory in each battle. Achieving the sort that like removes a star is really really hard. So like that's kind of how they bake a lot of stalemate into it. The other thing that you're sort of deciding as you go along with the campaign. Every side has access to the same tech web, effectively, and your research points come in at a fixed rate. And so there are some pretty good like abilities and weapons like deep along these tech trees, but you can't really be too deep on any of them. In a given campaign. So that's one of the big things that you're going to be deciding as you go along is how much do you invest in these things. So with this 1916 start where they've left things is the Allies have gone all in on aerial warfare. They have not really done much with infantry. They've basically got like the same infantry they had at the start of the war. They've really invested in like fortifications,
Right.
and economy, which makes sense for where things are at. They also got siege artillery, but they haven't done much beyond that. So they are set up if they want to bank. If we want to bank research points to buy tanks, so that's another thing we can do. I have not messed with very much in this game. The entire intelligence tree I have barely messed around with. This is all stuff you're going to be applying on the strategic map, and it always seems to me like it's just more profitable to invest directly in stuff I'm going to be taking into battle, but maybe it is worth looking at some of this stuff. Like, okay, there's one I hadn't noticed. There's one where you can double research points awards for completing events.
Hey, that seems kind of like like it would make the game move like way faster.
No, so the thing is the events are like kind of scripted, like, oh, at this point in the war, somewhere else this thing is happening. And it's very much like a paradox event in some ways, and only some of them bring research rewards. So I would bet you this bonus may only fire a few times. And I think you might get some goals that would, if you complete them, they'll give you research points. But you have to go out of your way to do it.
Yeah.
So let's see.
So
that's, yeah.
Wait, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that it takes 4 major victories to, for example, take out these like 4-star places. When there is a missing star, does that mean that a major victory occurred and so they're on the back foot, or does it, and like you can heal them, or does it mean that they took a partial loss or you got a partial victory and you have to hit them again to fully take that star away?
So you are going to, when you see a missing star, that means like they are back-footed. But I believe they get a star back if they are not attacked on the turn. So you do have to keep feeding troops in if you want to keep up the pressure. If you let a turn go by.
Right.
The other thing is, or it might only be the last star. I'll have to see, because usually what I did a lot is I kind of cheesed this. Like I didn't attack the really strong locations. I was real big on attacking the 2 stars, because you can do that in one turn. You know, you could theoretically hit someone before they could react. Like, well, right now we're really thin at Châtillon-sur-Marne. And if the Germans attacked us from Rethel and Vouziers, that'd be 2 different battles. But if they won both of them, we would lose the space in one turn before we could really react.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so we got these 2 research points, and let's see. My God, so if we've already poured this much into fortifications, industry.
What if we invest in our future, Rob? It costs 2 research points, and we'll get double research points.
Ah, this one.
Yeah.
I like it.
Because double isn't just like, if it's 1 research point, we get 1. We get 2. That's great. But if it's 2, we get 4. You heard of these numbers? They go up. And like
the numbers,
I think that
the numbers
could,
go up.
I think that could really pay off for us. So, question about these hexes. What does like movement look like with an army? Right? Like how far can an army move in a single turn? Is this like a 1 tile per turn game, or?
So, it's interesting, like, movement doesn't really matter. Movement is free behind your lines. Units can I can get troops from Paris all the way to Epinal in one turn. It doesn't matter. Can pull guys off the line, move them around anywhere. That's all fine. You can only... So, when units move into a space, they can't join any offensive action that turn. So if you, like, move a huge stack in for an attack, that huge stack will not be ready to go until the next turn, which means the enemy will see that you've got a huge stack there, and they will have a chance to move guys in defensively. When you take ground, the units who are part of the successful attack automatically advance in, but they're spent. They can't keep advancing. So you can't really have a breakthrough where, you know, you drive them out and you keep going into their back line. That's just not going to happen in this game.
So I'd like to ask a follow-up question here.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that so the fortification of a territory is based on the territory itself, not and like how defensible it is, not how well fortified you have made it. Just based on the fact that, like, you know, locations where they're like, for example, Vervin, right there is a 2-star, but no one's holding it currently. And so does that basically mean here that once the Germans were there, it would be a 2-star location, regardless of how many troops they put there?
Right.
Got it.
So yeah, the idea here is like, yeah, it is like, so and I've never known how to pronounce this. I've heard it pronounced Eep or Ypres. Interestingly, I gather the British troops started calling it wipers during the war.
Yeah, of course. They did.
When they were sent there. But the idea here being like the Ypres salient became a really significant thing, and the British command just invested a ton in holding on to it. Verdun's a special case because that had a ton of like pre-war fortifications built into it. So that was going to be a tough nut to crack, regardless. Metz was a similar case where these were both sort of like fortified towns. So yeah, that's kind of what these things signify. And then places that just didn't have either that kind of defensible terrain or were not historically like such a focal point don't get those bonuses. So let's see here. We have... They're going to keep attacking Verdun, but like, we should probably be trying to figure out, like, do we have any good opportunities to attack?
One more follow-up question.
Yeah.
is the amount of tokens indicative of the amount of troops you have somewhere? So, for example, like your troops at like Châtillon-sur-Marne are like very weak versus the like troops, the German troops at Rethel, who are like pretty stacked.
So it's kind of like that, though. Really, each chit means that is an army corps. And so the funny thing is I think one of the big choices they made in this game is they've basically like made the assumption that nobody is ever going to really run out of like pure manpower. That's just not going to be a thing that happens. So units don't die, they don't get destroyed. They are replenished after battle, but they're
just like in regular World War One.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like the manpower shortages were a constant fear, but like it was never it very rarely turned out to be a decisive thing until the very, very end. And even then you're really thinking it's other shortages that end up being decisive. So yeah, when losses are inflicted, that comes out of gold reserves. And that can really like impinge on what you want to spend that money on. Like if you're absorbing huge losses, that is money you're not going to be able to spend on advanced equipment or in upgrading spaces, such as let's see. So where would be a good place to launch attacks from? Arras seems like a good place. And so if we build a supply depot here, basically that is going to give the space greater access to the global supply level, and supply is everything in this game. Supply equals like extra ability to field extra manpower, and probably more crucially, artillery. So if you're going to be making a big push, you want as much supply as possible, but it's expensive to build up supply capacity in regions. So the way these Army Corps work is they bring supply with them. Each regular Army Corps has 180 supply points, so if you have a huge stack somewhere, whether or not there is a depot available, you may not even need that global supply because the Army Corps itself brings so much supply to the battle. So, like, these are both tempting locations to hit, like Lille and Peronne. Seem like good places to do some damage. Oh yeah, the Allies do suffer morale hits when units from different I guess nations isn't quite right, because the British Commonwealth doesn't suffer from this. So like, you know, Australian and Canadian troops don't like have a morale hit if they share a space, but if you have like French, British, Americans all in one space toward the war's end, there is a morale hit just because you've got guys who don't understand each other and are responding to different chains of command. Right. So yeah, so like, yeah, Ypres is kind of vulnerable, but also, you know, it's tempting as an offensive.
We have new orders.
Jumping off point. The elite infantry corps carry more supply and they have like better troops in them, so they're kind of a really valuable you know, type of unit to send forward. This is the thing that probably drives me the most up the wall about this game. If you click a stack, it automatically assumes you want to move the whole stack. And so if you click anywhere else, the entire stack will move. If you click the space, you will get this little pane, and you'll be able to select one by one who you want to move. And I have switched that many times, and I've accidentally opened up like huge holes in my line by complete accident repeatedly in this game.
Jesus.
So that is just one little watch out here. What we're gonna do is send some elites to Ypres.
So if you do any battles here, there's a lot of territory here, right?
Oh yeah.
Any battles will take us into the micro level, or like strategy bit, right?
Yeah.
Move out.
So how long does a
then-
given turn of this take?
Could take quite a while, but it does depend. Like sometimes nobody attacks and nothing happens, because like supply runs down fast. Like it gets very hard to sustain operations after a point,
Stand by for orders.
which we will see pretty fast, I suspect.
We're moving. Ready yourselves.
Sorry, I had to do a big stretch.
Move out.
No problem. Siege artillery kind of does what it says on the tin. That's the idea, at least, is you can sort of like just hammer an enemy position before you launch the attack. I've not seen it have as big an impact as I would like. I'm curious to see if we get more results out of it today. Yeah.
So that leads me into a question I have about like historical World War One, right? When I think about like trench warfare, artillery seems kind of like the hard counter to that in many ways. Like, is artillery part of what led to actual movement in the war, or was it mostly secondary? Like, does it feel accurate how maybe not little impact the artillery has, or yeah?
So this is. So, one, the artillery is like the decisive component
perfect.
of World War One.
Perfect.
This is, and the siege artillery is like when I'm talking about siege artillery, what I mean is like things that are almost like those giant railroad guns, where it's like the types of shells the battleships would fire, sorts of things that like if they hit a trench, they don't just like damage the trench, they like cave it and completely obliterate it. Siege artillery was pretty hard to come by in the war. Ammunition for it was hard to come by, so it's like an expensive thing to use. Field artillery, every corps has field artillery. You can see there, each corps has like a heavy and a light artillery battery. And what those mostly do is they suppress enemy positions. And so that is how like you are going to use it, is you're going to be shelling spaces basically to silence enemy guns while your units maneuver. One thing I would say about this game is this game captures a lot of like popular understanding of the war. So like artillery is like the decisive factor in a lot of places. The catch, I would say, is that it doesn't, and it can't capture as well as you might want the way the tactics shifted over the course of the war. And a big part of that was also like the different ways sides used artillery and such. And you'll kind of see, like, I think why this game really struggles to showcase like what are some of the actual dynamics of the war.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Right now we have an opportunity here at Perone. That's a really thinly held section of line.
There's like what, two guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Let's get them. Oh, I mean, like, supply is expensive.
Jesus.
Spending 500 gold gets you 200 supply. And supply just burns fast. But we'll try to get in at Perone.
Alrighty. So we're sending in 2 artillery and then 100 guys.
Each of those is a company. So that's 100 companies of guys. So like,
God.
earlier before our stream, when you were seeing all those dudes come pouring out,
Yeah.
each of those
Each
like
one was a
macro
company?
units was one. Yeah. So
Got
this
it,
is like
got it.
this is a lot of people that are potentially
Yeah.
in on this attack.
This is like several thousand.
Yeah, we're like tens, if not hundreds of thousands. Okay, so this middle area in the mini-map, it's sort of grayed out. That's no man's land. You can't build trenches there. These are our strong points. These are our key locations. This is our command trench. If we lose that, that's bad. I think it might actually stop reinforcement. But if you lose the command trench and your strategic points, you've basically lost the battle. Mm-hmm. Which means that even on the attack, they can counterattack during the battle. Even if you're attacking, they can just sort of bum rush you. Mm-hmm. And I've had that happen where it turns into a base trade, but World War I style. All these trenches we're going to get for free when the battle commences, so that's nice. Here's what we know they have, but what we can't see in this planning stage is we don't know what other trenches they might build, and we don't know where they might put machine guns or barbed wire. My guess is there's going to be a lot more stuff when we attack.
How fast does a trench usually go down historically?
Pretty fast. The thing, and you sort of see it here, the reason they would arrange them in successive lines is the assumption is the forward trenches are going to get got, and probably pretty fast. But it is those supporting trenches that are kind of critical because you can safely bring troops up there and sort of retake.
Right.
And so that's another big part of it. But this is where this game kind of this is a very fun, light RTS-y style take on World War I, because even here, this is such a laughably small scale
right.
for the war. This sort of position, this would be considered a single line of trenches effectively in the war. This sort of position. And then you would have behind this, another huge array of trenches, and then further behind that, yet more trenches. And so the issue would be that you could advance so far into the enemy trench network that you were beyond the range of friendly artillery. And there were still more trenches for you to wade through. And now you couldn't fire artillery at them, you couldn't get support, and so you were just kind of bogged down and stuck. And so that's kind of one of the big things that each side would confront. Okay, so we've got all these free trenches. We're going to build some extra trenches just so we can have guys jumping off a bit closer to the enemy lines.
And how long does it usually take a trench to build? Take to build a trench?
So shitty trenches, not long. You scrape them out. In this game, they're instant in this planning phase. It's just more expensive to build nicer ones. But your best trench networks required a lot of engineering and resources to build out. I just built a blockhouse trench. That's a reinforced concrete dugout, and that's you're doing heavy construction at that point.
Right.
Not easy stuff to deal with.
Mm-mm. Especially not, well in an ongoing war.
Right. Which is another reason why a lot of those forward positions we really sort of thinly held would just be that you couldn't really move up the heavy equipment needed to dig them out properly. So you would just kind of let everyone fend for themselves. All right, so the light artillery, mostly it doesn't do much damage, but it does do suppression, which again means troops can't fire while artillery is dropping on them.
Right. And so
what it's not going to do is destroy emplacements.
And that is pretty limited range too. Now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah. On the mini map up in the upper right, you see its arc of fire. The light artillery has to be stationed pretty far forward if it's going to actually provide support for the push into the back line.
Right. Versus the heavy artillery, which appears to be covering most of the map. Right?
All right. that's gonna. Now the other issue here is that every artillery battery, just firing these things consumes supply. So we are going to burn through a lot of supply really fast. And we are going to have to
Reporting for duty.
water down our attack by hedging our bets against enemy counterattacks.
Reinforcements ready.
How is the game's AI been so far? Like, does it feel like the enemy is making decisions that actually make sense?
Reinforcements ready. We've arrived.
I would,
Or is it-
Yeah, I think so. But I think it's a simple enough game that the AI is flattered by that as well.
Reinforcements reporting.
Arrived and await orders.
Ready.
But
Reinforcements.
when it
ready.
is asked to do a little bit more, like, I mentioned this in the review, but when it gets access to tanks and aircraft, in my view, it tends to squander them really, really badly. And so you don't really get,
We have arrived and await orders.
like, even if you get caught out by some of the things the AI does, you'll kind of watch it squander the advantage, and all you have to do is kind of sit passively. And, like, tanks are the quintessential example, where it'll just send its tanks forward. The tanks will kind of be unstoppable. The tanks will drive out alone. They'll get stuck in your lines, and even though it takes forever to do enough chip damage to them to kill them, they will eventually just die.
Right.
And you just kind of let them do that. Now, you'd say, like, that's kind of how tanks ended up functioning in the war, but that might have been the first couple times they used tanks, but they did get better at coordinating them. The AI in this game doesn't quite. So, we are not deploying barrage balloons. We're going to go in unsighted. All right, you know what? I'm actually going to just do one quick thing here. Just because sometimes those little counterattacks can really wreak havoc.
How much does it feel to you like the terrain actually matters in terms of how you're approaching these battles? Like, do these battles feel genuinely distinct from one another, or no?
I think they do. Forests, especially, like the way they cut up line of sight, is hugely significant. But I would say, like, the dynamics are more similar than they are different.
Got it.
And I think you can get a little repetitive with these things.
We have new orders.
So I'm gonna cheat a little bit here and go to
Need to
slow
hold this
mode,
position.
just because.
We have new orders.
And honestly, that probably does make it a little
Move
too easy, because you can start, like, really cutting your timing fine here. But so yeah, the idea here is that to have troops deployed in advance, I had to put them in trenches. But if they all come piecemeal, they'll get cut up. The idea here is to overwhelm. So
Stand by for
as
orders.
they cross each line,
The brass wants this piece of ground. Attention!
the troops in the forward trenches will come with.
Ready yourselves.
Stand by for orders. We're moving.
Attention! We have new orders.
Okay, would that windmill there block line of sight for artillery, or
We
no?
need to hold this position.
No.
Stand
No?
by for
Okay, so
orders.
that's just
The
decoration.
brass wants this piece of ground. Ready yourselves.
Yeah, I mean it'll get smashed up
hold here.
as the battle unfolds. But yeah, the artillery is firing like high arcing fire for the most part
Right.
in this war. So
We have our targets.
Right, sorry, I meant more that, like, is that windmill an interactable thing in the world? I guess would be the more accurate question. No? Okay.
and like
got it.
you'll be able to dig trenches like straight through existing buildings on some maps.
Suppression
Got it.
barrage ordered. Fire on that position. Set position. Prep for barrage. Start the
So, someone in chat says this looks so Total War-y. I mean, but the thing that I'm wondering is that, like, I feel like Total War is so much, at least in my limited experience, so much built around the different relationships between various units, as much as it is terrain. Where here it looks like this is not you playing rock paper scissors. This is you determining when and where to allocate the same resources in different volumes. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready yourselves. Get moving. On the line. Arms up, boys.
And do you feel
So
like you
as
have
troops
been...
are being wiped out here, I'm going to continue ordering up more reinforcements.
Right.
Arms up, boys. We have new orders. On the line. Move out.
And yeah, when you get like hand-to-hand fighting in these trenches, you get these little like strength bars
Right.
that indicate how it is going. Oh, they've got
Right.
Stos trooping back there, and that's going to be bad for me.
Are those the shock troopers?
Yeah, they've got flamethrowers. They're going to be pretty devastating.
Yeah. Yeah, I would... That's actually probably the last weapon I'd want to be in a trench with.
The genius of the invention, really. It
Yeah.
basically turned the psychological security of the trench or the dugout into stark terror.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Yep.
We have new orders.
Yep. How much does this game's like line of sight stuff matter? Right? Like, is this a game that is like interested in the battle becoming so chaotic with like smoke or something that
No, and I
lose
think this is
information?
one of its, like, I think this is a drawback with, like, just this whole model of the combat, is, like, already we have the type of precision when it comes to, like, making choices and, like, committing artillery that would have just been, like, unimaginable at the time.
Right.
And so, like, one of the major dynamics is that, like, once guys were committed to an attack, you kind of lost them for all intents and purposes. They sort of went into the chaos, and you didn't see them again. The fact that we can just sort of sit here and just, like, continue to dial up target, like, precision artillery wherever we want is, like, wild.
How have you... Have you felt like games have previously done a better job of, like, balancing precision with, like, playability? In terms of, like, being able to precisely, like, see information and give orders while also... Or imprecisely see information and give orders while still, like, playing in such a way that isn't like, oh, this is fucking awful.
I think, so introducing imprecision to artillery, for instance, the more accurate you make that, it tends to involve, like, creating some really fussy systems, like something I associate with more, like, serious simulation-style war games.
Right.
And the rules for doing that get a little complicated, because, like, for instance, the most basic one would be, you introduce artillery delay. And frequently the more powerful weapons you have, the longer the delay, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? Like, the most powerful guns you're going to have will be kind of under the direct command of headquarters, which is probably miles distant from the front. So saying, I need to fire the heavy artillery at, like, this one position, by the time that all gets put into action, it might be like 5-10 minutes later, 20 at times, from when the request was made.
We have new orders.
But that can be a real pain in the ass, not just in terms of, like, it makes your job harder, but, like, a lot of times the rules to create kind of, like, realistic command and control issues can become a real encumbrance in that, like, it's just not fun to deal with.
Right.
So, like, I understand how we end up in a situation like this, but it does make it a little too easy to do this kind of thing.
Right.
In this game. That being said, not that it's easy, right? Like, you can see here, we're kind of bogged down in their trench network, and they are reinforcing from, like, right next door, and our units are getting pretty roughly treated just crossing no man's land.
Right. So is this a situation you're in that you feel like we have access to a decisive victory?
I think we do, yes.
Okay. Now, what's happening on... Oh, please.
No, I think this is actually going pretty well.
What's happening on the western front of this fight? I noticed that you're not really making any movement here. Is it usually better to just try and smash through one side than it is to try and push into two, like, defended positions simultaneously and, like, split resources? Got it.
You have a cap of 30 units in this game.
Got it.
So there's no upshot to splitting efforts like that. Now, sometimes there is an advantage in suddenly, like, you let an attack stall out, and then quietly you build up somewhere else, and you sort of, under the assumption you've drawn them off, you sort of now make your push from somewhere else. That is definitely a thing you can do. By the way, what I've been doing here is I've been retreating companies. When you do that, I believe you are spared them... Yeah, so when it comes to scoring the match,
yes.
you don't have, like, the company's defeat being counted against you. Every time, notice there's this little ticker. Every time one of our units, like, gets got, we get a notification that, like, that score is being counted against us.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay, so... Oh boy, this is gonna take forever. Hold on here.
Set position. Check coordinates for fire on that position. We have new orders. Take firing positions. Loading light suppression shells. Start the barrage. Stand by for orders. Ready on the fire.
So the other thing is, each of these trenches has, like, 2 spots in them, but only one of them is... Like, there's a firing stop, effectively. So only one unit in a trench can fire out of it. Ooh. So, like, you'll want 2 units in a trench to hold it if, like, an assault gets to them. But for defensive firepower, they're kind of a waste.
Right. So, how do we take point Y here? Because it looks like we've kind of done it.
We have to be the only forces in that ring.
Got it. So there's just a couple of troops who are kind of dragging this out.
Yeah.
Got it.
They're successfully keeping the timer from, like, advancing. Oh, shit. Okay.
We have new orders.
It's like, these guys are doing no good.
We have new orders. Ready yourselves. We're withdrawing. Load them up. Ready for barrage.
Oh, fuck. I don't know what... There's something back here that's, like, causing all kinds of mayhem. I'm just going to start pasting it with artillery, under the assumption that, like, that's either an artillery battery or some other bullshit that's causing problems.
Reporting. Reinforcements ready. Stand by for orders. On the line.
Okay, there we
No,
go.
I'm not changing my mouse sensitivity as I play to try and, like,
We have new orders.
do elite trench storming moves. My finger just keeps slipping and hitting the the buttons to adjust sensitivity.
What evil buttons, by the way, may I just add? I appreciate that they're there. However, like, there are DPI
concept is
settings
very
on the
good.
mouse that I think are fundamentally insane.
Oop.
I think that hey, folks, if you have your mouse set to anything above, I'm gonna say 1200 DPI, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh no, 2500 feels good to me. Oh yeah.
That's insane. Rob, that's crazy.
New orders. Attention.
Ready yourselves. On the line.
What?
We have new orders.
2500?
Withdraw. We have new
Yeah.
orders on the line. Stand by.
People are using 35. Okay. If you're using a mouse with that high DPI, are you like moving your wrist at all, or are you just like moving your mouse like with your fingertips?
So I'm more of a like press down with my whole hand. So there's not actually a huge amount of mouse travel. Like it moves in a small area, and it's almost like fine muscle control is doing more than like arm movements.
Interesting.
Now I admit,
Ready yourselves.
there's a reason I suck at playing like sniper classes in any sort of like serious shooter, right? Like
Right.
the minute that like you need that like really
The brass wants this piece.
granular you know,
Attention.
motion,
Hold here.
that doesn't work at all.
Right.
All right, so we've broken through in their back line. And this is the other thing that makes this like, and I understand you can't help but have this kind of situation crop up. This map has edges, and again, that just wouldn't be the case in World War I. Like, there is no, you can't find the edge of the trench network. The edge was like the English Channel or like the Swiss border. That was it. But here, you know, you can get to the back line, and now there's just like magically.
You just ran around.
Yeah, we broke through their front, and now we can kind of just do our thing.
Hold this position. Ready yourselves.
So is this battle effectively over at this point?
No.
No?
Because
Okay.
they're still going to be able to bring a lot of forces into these trenches.
Got it.
Stand by for firing positions.
But I would say, like, it doesn't look good for them.
Ready yourselves. Ready on the fire
We
step.
have new orders. Ready on the fire step.
And because we took point Y, we unlocked a reinforcement location
Hold here.
here. These little crosses on the edge are reinforcement points. So now, as we order more troops in, they're going to come instead of being like marching in from the very edge of the map on our side.
Right.
They will come in from the closer position.
Right. Right.
Get in position. On the double now.
Ready yourselves. Stand by for
How much of this is a you just had more troops than them game?
ready for load light suppression.
That is a significant part of it. Like, there's still like you still want to play as efficiently as possible, but even more than troops, though, what's going to be more significant is the supply. It's the
Right.
ability to continue summoning troops on the battlefield and the ability to keep using these artillery fire missions to sort of pin their troops down and keep them from shooting at you as you run around.
Right.
Ready yourselves. We hold this ground. We're moving. Attention. The brass wants this piece of ground. We've arrived and await reinforcements ready.
And at this point, this is a one fight. It's just at this point, it's a numbers formality, and just trying to make sure you get your decisive victory as opposed to a partial victory.
Ish, you know, I could still blow this though. So the issue is, I'm going to storm their command trench, but we haven't even touched point X, and there's no guarantee that's not going to be a real shit show.
New orders. Ready on
So, like, we have enough, like, if the next stage of the attack goes well, then yes, this is a one fight. But we don't have enough supply left to really do what we just did again.
Right.
We kind of gotta win with what we have on the field as best we can.
Odd asks a question in the chat that is making me wonder if this is a thing in any games. Do you get more resources if historically that battle was won by the side you're playing? Is this like a thing in historical strategy games where like it rewards you for playing along with history as it happened?
You're talking about, like, pretty standard in wargame design is that either via rules or starting positions, they will give you advantages. They will give advantages to the side that should, like, have advantages. Otherwise, you couldn't, like... You wouldn't be able to have many battles that serve as fun battles in a wargame, because, like, usually there is some sort of, like... There are deterministic factors that make, like, the historical outcome fairly likely, so you kind of, like, do a little bit of, like, handicapping in terms of, like, resources presented at the start, but then also, like, with how things are scored.
Right.
Hey, stop that. That is... Oh, these little trench mortars are really annoying. Because unlike the machine guns, once you get in their rear arc, the machine guns are kind of helpless. But these trench mortars are kind of firing from every position. I'm also wondering,
now,
are they... Uh-oh. Oh, shit.
Are you...
Oh, no.
Shit. Well...
Hold on.
I think you might take the control point in time, right?
Yeah, but they will, like... If they retake that ground, what is slipping away is the decisive victory.
Got it.
Everyone pull back. We have arrived and await orders. Get in position.
So, again, this is to kind of draw attention to how little I know about the history of World War I. Does being a good shot matter? Like, even a little bit? Like truly, does it matter how well trained these troops actually are?
Yeah, it definitely mattered.
Okay.
So usually, like, the bigger thing obviously is, like, what training really gives you in terms of, like, combat is combat's going to terrify and scare the shit out of everyone. But better trained troops will just, like, have better muscle memory. When it comes down to it, they will stay cooler. They will be more effective when all hell's breaking loose. The British Army took pride in its marksmanship, but I don't know if that actually mattered. You know, it was a thing they prized very highly because the British Army had historically been smaller. You know, it being more of a naval power, and also, you know, if you're being carried to battle on boats, chances are there are not that many of you, so the idea would be that you had to make up in execution what you lacked in numbers.
Right.
But, you know, that's all well and good when you are fighting, like, Afrikaans in South Africa, or, like, you know, indigenous peoples. Didn't really matter when it was World War I.
If other people have guns and those guns shoot fast, it kind of immediately falls apart. Got it. So, have you felt like this game has produced, like, compelling narratives for you? Like the narrative of a given combat or a given engagement, right? Where you were like, oh, that was a cool one. The push and pull here actually landed for me, or is it, like, mostly just mechanical satisfaction as opposed to, like, oh, I think that this produced a cool thing?
I would definitely say it's like more mechanical satisfaction.
Got it.
Oh man, this is... We might be done here. See, every time our troops leave these trenches, they are getting just shot up.
Right.
Hold on here. We need to shut this shit down.
Ready for fire. Suppress at that location. We have our targets. Load them up. Check coordinates.
Yeah, it is these trench mortars that are causing all kinds of chaos here. But every time our troops leave trenches, guys in these supporting trenches are shooting them as they come up. So it's being really hard to sustain the pressure.
Right. So a question I have about trench warfare broadly is that, like, once they're at the trench, you're just the person in the trench is completely fucked, right? Like, does this game is that accurate? Or because I feel like if I was in a little hallway where bullets could pass through me, that sounds bad. Like, the moment that position even has a little bit of ingress, you're kind of just fucked. Or
Yeah,
no?
a bit. Like, I mean, honestly, the thing that's probably going to screw you is that once guys get close, they can just start throwing grenades into the trench, and they will just clear
Right.
it. And that's going to be the thing that gets you.
And
But,
is that model?
you know, I mean, there'll be a lot of guys, like, retreating deeper into a trench network is definitely a thing you could do.
Right. Now, does it feel like when two, like, companies or whatever are in the same trench and the strength scores get put against each other, does that actually feel like anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Like, it feels like you are... It's basically a timer to get more troops into the trench, but it does not feel like a... It doesn't feel like there's an encounter there that you're managing.
Right.
It just feels like you are pouring guys into the fight.
Right.
Oh yeah, we are out of supply, so we can't send any more artillery into this situation.
Attention! We hold this ground. Get in position. We have new orders. This position is ours.
Oh, apparently Asanzo got an expansion. That's fun.
Okay, so there was one like really thinly held section of trench they had in a key location, and that might actually let us... Shit.
Oh yeah, you're out of supply. No more artillery for you.
We have new orders. We have new orders. We're moving. Attention. Ready on the fire stick. Get in position. Ready yourselves. On the line. Attention.
Yeah, so this is now the...
Fire in positions.
This is where there's a little more interesting tension, I would say. Because it really is now a... Can we get this done with what's left?
Right.
And the answer is, I think, no.
Weapons down.
Really? So you think that we did not get the decisive victory here?
No, we're out of supply. We can't bring more guys on.
Is-
You know, we did okay, but these trench mortars really... Like, the fact that they just continued to shell troops once we were in the trench line spelled doom. Now, we could still have done okay here. We're gonna see what the final score
Right.
is.
Right. Oh my God, Rob. Rob.
Well done, us.
Yeah, but it's right on the cusp.
That is annoying. Like,
Would
that's
you,
if we'd taken that last objective.
is there a world where if we hadn't even, like, where we didn't, did we try too little to, like, we either had to commit to taking that last objective or leave earlier, right?
No, because like here, because look how they score this. Every
yeah,
time we
looking.
destroyed those trench weapon emplacements, we got points. Every time we took a trench, we got points. So remember, in that last rush, we wiped out a bunch of those trench mortars.
Yeah.
Every time we did that, we got 710 points.
Right.
And so that last push may have been the moment that like our offensive broke, but it probably also moved us pretty far down the spectrum.
Right. And that's not a star-worthy fight.
No, I don't think so.
Really?
So something I like that they have here is it's a little too easy to say that like the defender had the advantage in terms of like defenders took less losses in combat.
Right.
There's sort of like that's kind of twofold. Like there is an advantage for being on defense, but the fact that the attacker always gets to choose like I'm going to apply maximum pressure here and fire all my artillery.
Right.
Like in World War I, like the attacking side usually inflicted way worse losses than they absorbed, and so that would be
interesting.
That's one of the odd things here. Whereas like I want to say like even stuff like the Somme, which is kind of like remembered as like just a catastrophic day for the British Army. I think by the time that campaign wrapped up, like they had also inflicted pretty brutal damage to the German army as well. Just by virtue again of they had kind of like picked their site and inflicted a lot of damage.
Right. And so how far have you gotten into one of these campaigns?
Oh, I finished one campaign. I'm like midway through another.
How long did that take?
Probably about 10, 12 hours. It's not a super long campaign.
Really? I'm just surprised to hear this on account of, we've been streaming for what? Hour and a half? Hour. And in that time we got through, I mean, sure you are explaining things, but like that battle took, 40, 45 minutes. And we didn't even take a star. We didn't even like peel a star away from that like location.
No, we did not. That is true. However,
the enemy lost 12 whole points.
Yes, that's the other thing is like you're doing this is kind of the real meter. The more you are bringing them down here, when they hit 0, the game's over. And so the way they forced this war to end in 1918 is at a certain point you just get a notification that like war fatigue is hitting everybody. Everyone's at their breaking point, and so they just start deducting 100 points per turn, and they sort of speed it to a conclusion that way. So let's see here. I would say that was a good attack, and crucially, because these guys were engaged, they will have lower morale, which does mean that their troops will like break faster. They won't be able to sit there and absorb as much damage. So, I think we should throw good money after good and keep up the pressure on Peronne with the forces we have at Arras.
Is this like a larger deployment, or is this smaller than the one we just used?
Oh, it's going to be significantly smaller.
Okay, that's not ideal.
It is not, but
Uh-huh.
They're going to have access to some decent supply from the global. They're going to have... I think this is doable, and I think you're the woman to do it.
Oh, great.
Let me just...
Great. Okay. Cool. All right, give me...
All right,
Hello.
you should have mouse control.
Yep, I do. All right, what is
All
the... How am I moving
Ross
around
is
this
the hex
map?
we're going to use to...
Right. Sorry,
attack.
I'm just trying to figure out how to pan. Okay, it's WASD. There we go. Okay. All right, Aras.
New orders.
And just all
So
of
you'll
it.
note the units to move, those are the units that were there at the start of the space, at the start of the turn. You see all those
Right.
grayed out units. Those are things that we
Yes.
moved in here this turn. They'll be available next turn. So
Right.
it'd be sure nice. It sure would be nice if those things were available here today, but they're not.
No.
But I think we can still
We'll be
we
fine.
can still notch a win here. Yeah.
Look, we have more little guys than they do.
Don't be discouraged by that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Don't believe that hater.
Okay, got it, Rob. I won't believe that hater.
Yeah, we're gonna have the CP. We're gonna have the battle outcome predictor shot for sedition.
Yeah.
After the stream.
Really keeping the... You know what? If there's one thing computers are really bad at, it's estimating what happens when you put two numbers next to each other.
Well, no. See what the computer fails to account for, Ren, is a little thing called elan. A little thing called esprit de corps. I think with those intangible factors, the superior moral fiber of our troops, I think that's the thing the computer can't
Now
really
we did
comprehend.
hey, wait, we did take this. Hey, what the fuck? We just took this.
Well, this is a different map.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay, yes it is. Sorry. It's just that we're
But
attacking...
You have to. But if we were attacking again the next turn, we would, from the same location we just fought on, we would play on that map again. And
Got
some
it.
of the things that happened there would be persistent. But yeah, it would be.
Okay, so...
For the most part, it's just sort of resets to sort of a blank slate between battles.
I feel like what we Okay. I feel like what we shouldn't do what is does elevation matter in this game?
No.
Not at all.
Not that I can tell, which is weird, because sometimes you have really pronounced hills, and it's like...
Right, like this is a hill demarcated on this map.
Yeah, like... But the thing is, it has not seemed like... I have not observed guys being unable to provide supporting fire to guys like further up on a hill. So I'm not clear to what degree it is playing with line of sight like that.
And how much does this little forest here matter?
Hugely.
Hugely?
Troops who enter forests become completely invisible until they like move to the edge of the forest and are like spotted by enemy troops. So you can, once the attack is underway, you can start like stashing guys in that forest to build forces up. And I think this is a place where the AI is not very smart because I've not seen them drop a lot of artillery speculatively into forests where like clearly guys are going. It feels like there's a little bit of object permanence that gets lost.
Got it. I was simply curious to see, like, because what I was thinking was, in this situation,
Yeah.
we have we have this little forest here right next to that objective. And this seems like an okay point of, the other thing I was wondering is, can artillery clear cut a forest? Like, the thing that I want to know is, if there are enemies in this forest and I hit it with artillery, even if they're invisible, they will get hit by it, right? And so, like...
I haven't seen it happen. Like, forests just stay up.
Okay.
Like, trees on maps disappear, but like decorative trees, but it feels like forests kind of persist.
Got it. Because the thing I was wondering is if, like, there is a case to be made for taking a bunch of troops and immediately pushing and taking this space after doing an artillery barrage into the forest. So, like, artillery barrage the forest, clear out whoever's there, or at least weaken whoever's there, so we can then charge through and use this as a foothold.
So, Crucial detail, and this
please.
this is a little thing that, like, historically this is not how it would have worked. Can't build trenches in forests. So by their nature, forests are undefended. Unless the AI moves guys into that forest, which they probably won't, the forest will be undefended. So you don't need to drop artillery in there because there will be no one there. Which is why, like, if you look at the... Let's see here.
So the enemy can't just, like, have some guys standing here at the ready hiding?
They can, but in pre-battle deployment, troops have to be deployed to trenches. So they would have to choose to move guys out of trenches into that forest. My guess is they won't. I've very rarely seen them do that. And usually only once you've, like, cracked the lines and they're trying to respond.
Got it.
So that is an AI tendency. So I don't think you need to worry about, like, fighting your way through the forest. What the forest ends up being is a dangerously close attack jump-off point for, like, rushing that final line of trenches.
Right. That is what I was thinking.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I think you got... In some ways, I think Objective X looks like the easiest to take.
Yeah. Because this is a lot of territory to cross.
It is, but you know what's kind of funny is...
How large are these?
I wonder how much they will build up there.
How large are they? Okay.
But yeah, probably would.
Okay. So I'm just going to make sure I understand how this works. I can undo something I built, right? Perfect, I can. Okay. So for example, if I was going to pop this guy right here, for example, okay, that does not become... So this is no man's land that, like, you simply cannot build in at the beginning?
It doesn't project zone of control, yeah.
Got it. So I cannot even push comms trench into this.
No.
Okay.
I also tried once to build a bunch of communications trenches up to no man's land, hoping that my guys would file out through the comms trenches. They did not.
Right. They did not. Got it. So that comms trenches are a between trenches thing.
Yeah.
Not a... Right.
Now, there are disadvantages. When you're on the defensive, I will note there's some disadvantages that come with having your trenches too networked, which is that, as you kind of saw, once guys are in a network of trenches, they can move around without surfacing. And so it becomes really useful to have, like, fire breaks between trenches where, like, if you're going to cross this ground, someone has to come out into a place where they can be shot.
Right. The thing I was thinking was maybe... Now that I know that I can't do the thing I was thinking of, was maybe to comms trench from the front of both areas. But that seems like a bad idea, now that I have heard.
No, and especially because comms trenches, I think units can only go through them one at a time. So it's like, it's a one-way road, effectively. It takes a long time to move guys through. Like, one unit can zip through trenches pretty fast, but once you get lots of units trying to move around through trench networks, it really bogs down. So those are probably better defensive trenches.
Got it.
Like, look at the cost difference. The basic one costs 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, for offensive attacks, like, I very rarely spend money on a nice trench.
Right. And I can start with putting people here initially.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, regardless...
Obi Wilcox, would this game be improved if you had to sort of pre-program your troop movements? I think that'd be really interesting. If it got at this concept of what they were doing in the actual war in the early part of the war is like, again, communications were so slow and unreliable that to coordinate a huge attack, you basically had to give people, the attack is happening at such and such a time. Here's your route. Here's your line of travel. Here's your objective. And that was set in stone. That wasn't going to be, you couldn't call in and do what we're doing, which is like, hey, move over here. There's an opportunity. I think it'd be an interesting game if it had that sort of like friction where sorry, once these guys leave their trenches, they're kind of out of control.
Right.
But would that be fun? You know, it'd be interesting. It'd be probably more like World War One. But you know, this is a game made by an RTS developer, and also again predominantly aiming at making a fun game. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure Douglas Haig Simulator 2023 is everyone's good idea of a good time.
Right. What are support structures? Okay, these are artilleries. Okay. Machine gun nest, field mortar, heavy field artillery.
Lama, the communications trenches allow troops to travel between trenches without sort of surfacing. The other thing that's nice about them is you can situate things like mortar and machine gun emplacements along comms trenches. And that means that if the enemy wants to suppress those, they're by definition firing on a trench with no one in it. And so, like, if you put a machine gun next to a trench full of troops, someone firing on that machine gun gets a twofer. They also suppress the troops that are in the trench. But if it's an isolated, like machine gun nest or mortar pit, then all you can do is suppress that one target.
Okay. I don't like how much I'm clustering there. Okay. However, Okay.
Honestly, I would say worry less about what's behind your lines, because
Yeah.
you're going to be the one attacking here.
Right.
So, like, especially if this is where you're attacking from, they're definitely not going to push through here, because all your troops are going to be coming off here. If you want defensive stuff, if you don't intend to be attacking off point B, maybe build defensive stuff there so that you don't have to put quite so many troops there to protect it.
Yeah. How much is this? 10 each?
Yeah. Barbed wire is shockingly expensive in this game. I suspect because, again, if it was cheap as it kind of was in reality, again, the whole, like, is this fun thing would probably pick back up, because you just be like, I'm going to cover everything in barbed wire, and every attack is going to bog down.
Right.
Discount Llama, the mentioning the old SSI Waterloo game, I think, is that the one where you basically use like almost a parser interface to construct orders and send them to like sub-commanders? Yeah. That game always sounded so cool. There was a great write-up on it on RPS ages ago that I refer back to a lot, just as an example of like, it's such a cool design. And other games have borrowed that idea. Like, what was that Civil War game I played last year? It wasn't Ultimate General. Oh my god. Like, Roman Kaiser's obsessed with this game, and I can't remember the name of it.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
A quick question, real quick. How much does each shell cost? Like, supply. So
Heavy
each artillery strike.
I think heavy artillery, every time you fire it, is like 10 supply, and I want to say light artillery is 6.
6? Okay, got it. I'm just thinking about how many shots I lose every time I put one of these down.
Yep.
In which case...
Yeah, that's real tension. The ability to like flood the zone with artillery fire is like really important here, but yeah, every additional battery is taking like 6, 7 barrages off the board.
Yeah, and then this one trench I'm getting rid of because that's 5 shots worth.
Yeah, but the stuff that came pre-built don't get rid of too much.
I'm not.
Because
no, that was
I
me.
think
That was something I put down, Rob.
Yep.
That was something I put down.
To CB Cry, is there chemical weaponry in this game? Yes, there is. So offensively in the artillery and engineering development track, you can develop like poison gas shells, and in the infantry track, where you have like medical stuff and troop health stuff, you can develop gas masks, which I think kind of gets at.
Reporting for duty.
I haven't used chemical weapons in this game. I should really see how they work. But in terms of the way it cancels out, it is kind of built to function like it did in the war, which is that the first time you deploy a chemical weapon, it tends to provide a really huge advantage for that battle because there's no countermeasures in place. But the minute chemical weapons are being used, people are getting gas masks. And then you are boxed into, if you're going to continue down that path, you are now investing more resources in developing different and better chemical weapons, which will then be countered again, and so the whole thing can be kind of circular. You'll get a brief advantage for using that stuff, but it won't. It's very easy to sort of neutralize.
Okay, sorry, I did not realize how few troops we actually had, because I couldn't see particularly well that we only have X number. So I'll move those over here.
Lubu, realistically, how long could World War I army stand the ground against a Space Marine company of Iron Warriors? Yeah, not long, no.
Cowards.
We have arrived and await orders.
I mean, I think the conceit of 40k is that everyone, like every single Space Marine, is walking around in armor that is stronger than like modern battle tank armor. I'm not sure, in that conceit, like, how much would it take for them to even bring down a single Space Marine? I think it'd be quite a bit.
Wait, you're you saying that a Space Marine could survive a tank shot?
Yes.
All right.
Not a 40k tank shot because it's built to kill for Space Marines, but it could survive a World War One artillery shell probably.
Okay. Okay, Rob. This is what I'm thinking would do. This is what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
We have these guys stacked up immediately right here on the edge.
Yep.
And then a pretty light inner line here. A actual defense around the objective, around like the control point here and here. And then a pretty light line around our actual base here. And then over here we have like... Actually, I'm going to get rid of this guy. A materially defended, but relatively light line over here.
I like it. I think you are still being too conservative. You're planning on attacking X first, right?
Yes.
All those dudes in this back line need to become part of the attack. Because remember, the right-hand side of the minimap, the little reinforcement point is right here by A. So even if they counterattack and you get caught out, you'll be able to spawn units to defend these trenches immediately.
Okay.
So all these dudes in the back should probably join the attack to like overwhelm
We have new orders.
the enemy.
Got it in that case. 1, 2, 3.
We have new orders. Ready on the line.
Attention! Ready on the fire step.
Stand by for orders. We have new orders.
Mondo Michelle, wouldn't a Space Marine be incapacitated by the first mud hole they step in and sink up to their neck? That, I think, would probably be the undoing of the Space Marines in World War One. Is that as hard as it was for infantry to cross the ground in the war, I do suspect, like, if it's been raining and the ground has been loosened by artillery fire, I think the Space Marines are getting bogged.
Stand by for orders. Get in position.
Yeah, people being a good point here that the Fluff Marines, the Space Marines as they are portrayed in the novels and codices, etc. Yeah, like each of those is like, ha ha ha, I'm stronger than a tank platoon or a division of World War One infantry. In terms of the combat resolution tables, no, probably not. If they got hit by like a 75mm shell, the tabletop rules would have them get pretty messed up.
All right.
Super Biffy, this is campaign. We are doubling down on an unsuccessful. No, sorry, a successful attack that just fell short of objectives.
All right. I think this feels correct. I have 227 supply. That's about 22 or, to be honest, more like 15 shots of each kind of artillery. And then, yeah, this feels ready.
So the nice thing here is that once we begin the battle, you're going to get a whole bunch of supply because 25%, as that tooltip tells you, is set aside for use in the battle, so that you can't do what I would absolutely do, which is screw myself and spend everything in the prep phase, and then be like, why can't I?
I'm
troops?
trying very hard not to do that. In fact, alrighty.
Isn't the Imperial Guard kind of sort of like World War I armies? Yes, 100%. This is a point I made in my review. Is that like the imagery of World War One is enormously powerful, enduring, and like 40K especially is just shot through with like, this is World War One on steroids, and the Imperial Guard are effectively a World War One army. Like hell, even the Lehman Russ looks like a World War One tank.
Whoops. I did not mean to do that. I didn't mean to hit whatever button I just hit. What did I just do?
It sounds like you clicked the little flag thing. So two of these guys are going to leave. Which means like it was a slight waste of a few points of supply, but you'll just be able to bring you guys out.
No, it was four. It was 4 guys, Rob. It was like a significant number. It was like it was on the front line. Is there not an undo button?
No.
For orders that have yet to be executed?
No.
That's really embarrassing. Okay, that's great. That's really cool. That's really cool.
It's
I guess I don't know the
misclick.
I don't know the hotkeys for this game, and so
I haven't really used them, and I'm not sure. Hang on, I'm not actually. I haven't used them. This is a game I control entirely with mouse.
Right.
So I have not fucked with the hotkeys.
Right. I mean, I just like accidentally pressed a button on my keyboard, and so I don't know.
Oh,
if
okay.
Well, maybe been unsafe to like. This was not me like trying to do something.
Ooh.
This was me legitimately bumping a button on my keyboard and being uncertain.
Why don't you click the
just
gear
happened.
in the upper left, and we can just see if there's a little controls thing. What's the button you do not want to press here? Company withdraw is
Shift
W.
W. Are you fucking kidding me?
How
you mean the button
wow.
that you would want? You mean the button you would want to use to move around after after shift clicking to select multiple troops.
I see. I see. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because I wanted to WASD around.
But you were still holding shift.
I was still holding shift
Brutal.
because I assumed that would not be a hotkey, because that'd be crazy. That's really cool. That's really fun and cool. All right, well.
All right. Well, you go into slow mode. You get those guys will go away. And actually, hold on. The dudes who are leaving, click on one of them.
Yep.
Hit the halt button. There, little stop sign. No.
The game will not even let me select them.
Yep. All right. Yeah, might as well just run forward in slow-mo maybe. And once those guys vanish, you can summon up their reinforcements.
That's so embarrassing. Okay, that's fine. Well, I guess I'll push up with these folks.
It wasn't a great to the use case you described. That is not a good hotkey they left.
No.
Stand by for orders. We hold this ground.
Wait. Okay, Rob, I don't know what the controls for this game are, so I'm trying to properly tell people where to go, and I do not know how to do that.
Yeah, it's right click is basically commit move. That's basically your.
Okay, and so these guys are just gonna run like this straight ahead, as opposed to moving with any nuance.
Pretty much.
Got it. Cool.
We have new orders. We need to hold.
So this is
there
very
might be
much
if you go back to the control screen, there might be a waypoints button where you can set to sort of have them dogleg.
Got it.
Ready
Well,
yourselves.
I'm gonna have these guys move up
Get in
here.
position. Stand by for orders. Get in position.
We have new orders. Ready on the fire step. Stand by for orders. Get in position. Ready yourselves. Ready on the line. Attention. On the line.
Alrighty.
Ready yourselves.
So you now have 5 spots opened up for new troops. So you can just click on the little soldier portrait on the left.
Spread out.
On the far left there. And just have them. I would not even bother putting them in trenches, because these guys are just going to be adding weight to the attack. You just click them out in no man's land. Have them just run right out there.
Reinforcements reporting.
Yeah.
Reporting for duty. We've arrived and await orders.
Reinforcements ready.
That sure sounded like a yank.
This piece of ground. We have new orders. We're moving. Attention. We hold here. We have new orders. Hold this ground.
All right, I would start using artillery right now.
Okay.
So you click on the batteries in the lower pane, the lower panel, and big barrel is the lower right hand side.
Oh, these right here?
Yeah.
Got it.
And yeah, so the heavy artillery, it's 9 supply per shot, but it will do more damage. So I would say you can see one of the little trench mortars there at the back, the very north. Yeah, right there in the in the middle. I would target that with your heavy artillery, because that will destroy it with a few barrages, and you don't want that little fucker firing for that long. Light artillery will shut these guys up in that front trench.
Well, these guys
you
are
can't see them yet.
We have new orders.
I am certain there are troops in those allegedly empty trenches. like in the middle of the enemy
We
position.
have new orders.
I would probably start saturating them with
We have
any
new orders.
uncommitted
Stand by
artillery
for
you've got.
We need to go.
Okay, got it.
Ready for fire orders.
Da.
Load them up. Suppression.
History of the Great War asks, did I run into instances where mud or shell holes slowed the movement of infantry?
For barrage.
Weather creates like global, like infantry are going to move slow in like when it's raining in a space, but no, you don't have the whole like guys leave a trench and immediately step into like sinkholes.
Ready yourselves. On the double now. Stand by for orders. To hold this position. Get moving. Ready yourselves. Go.
Those guys in the middle, I would maybe just run them through that barbed wire and storm that. Yeah,
Attention. On the double now.
Attention.
ooh, that machine gun in the upper right of their position is
Oh,
going to
there?
be a yeah, like
That guy?
that one's going to be a
Yeah.
monster. But if you get guys to the very edge of that forest, that's, I think, like almost in grenade range. If you right-click on that machine gun, they will sort of rush it and just like cover it in grenades and kill it really fast.
We have new orders. Fire.
We have new orders. Move out. We have new
Mundus,
orders.
can you do a creeping barrage in this game? That is a tech you can unlock. You can
Stand by for orders.
unlock
Get moving.
like rolling barrages. So like
Stand by for orders.
right now, the only type of attack that Ren has access to is a precision barrage, where it's just a localized shelling of an area. But if you unlock these other techs, you have the option to like drop smoke rounds, you have the option to like commit rolling barrages, etc.
Ready yourselves. Fire.
We surrender.
Teams ready. Load light suppression shells. We have our targets. Be ready, boys. Load for suppressing barrage. Fire. We surrender.
Attention. We need to go.
Take
Fire in positions.
Ready yourselves.
Attention.
On the line. We have new orders. Take fire positions.
We have
Hey, they knocked out that machine gun.
new orders.
Have them just directly attack that mortar too.
Attention.
They're so close.
Fire at will. Stand by for orders.
Pick your targets.
We have new orders. Ready. On the fire stick. We can't win this. Pick your targets.
We have new orders. Ready on the fire stick.
Based on what happened last time.
Get in position.
Ready for fire orders.
Good news. Yes, a bunch of units have died, but that means you can order up 8 more infantry units to join this attack.
Start the barrage.
Looks like we're late to the party. We've arrived and await orders. Looks like we're late to the party.
Put your weapons down. We have new orders. Charge.
That's just an American man.
Stand by for orders. Get in position.
Yeah, it is.
Yourselves.
Arms up, boys.
Maybe he was motivated by the righteousness of their cause, and he was like, I must volunteer with the British Army.
Ready, boys. Check coordinates for barrage. We have our targets.
Oh god, flamethrowers.
Yeah, I see,
are
I see, I
going-
see.
Raise the white flag.
Well, those guys are fucked.
I can't.
We have new orders.
You put them in those trenches, though. Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna have them go into these ones. German infantry. Ah, the stormtroopers are there.
Ready for fire orders.
All your artillery's on cooldown.
That's fine. That's fine. This seems to be fine actually. I have no metric for if this is going well or not.
I think it's going decently.
Reinforcements
Uh,
reporting. Arrived and await orders. Reporting for duty.
Reporting for
So we'll
duty.
just get some guys sent up over there.
We surrender.
Stand by for
On the
orders.
line.
Load them up. Suppression
Put your
fire
weapons down.
ordered. Set position.
Attention.
Keep going further.
Ready yourselves. Fire.
Casualties have created more openings in your army, so I would just, yeah.
Looks like we're late to the party. We have new orders. On the line. Take fire positions. We have new orders.
Wait, what are these guys doing in here? Hey, guys, what are you doing?
Stand by for orders.
Having can definitely get a little bit confused, and as units are like just jammed into these trenches.
Set for barrage. Fire on that position. Be ready, boys. Load light suppression shells. Start the barrage. Ready for fire. Suppressing barrage.
Oh, there's like three detachments right in that one little corner there.
Ready yourselves. Ready on the fire step.
So if you can pause for just one moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can sort of see they're trying to rush troops up to get into these trenches.
Ready yourselves.
What will be useful, I think, is as these reinforcements are coming up, don't have them like be lunging toward the trenches you want to take yet. I would say move these guys into the nearby trenches,
Yeah.
because they will also start firing on enemy troops as they come up. And so, like, you'll start to get the same advantages that the trench network gives the defender.
Yourselves.
Right.
On the line.
Guys will get on the firing step and just continue to, like, put fire down.
Take firing positions.
We have new orders. Ready on the fire step.
You can't win this.
Raise the white flag.
Ready, full barrage. We have our targets.
I would hit that stormtrooper detachment with artillery, because your guys are not going to fare. Oh, wow, that's a lot of stormtroopers.
It's a lot, Rob, yeah.
But your artillery is really demoralizing them. But yeah, you can see like the work now these dudes in the,
Set
you know,
position.
the forward trenches are doing for you. Just like demolishing these guys as they come up. Oh, thank you, Tarakai,
Oh, thank you.
for the tier 1 subs.
Keep
I
it
rock to a
going.
lot of trust in the accuracy of the big guns.
On the line.
Suppress at that location.
You know.
Fire on that position.
I think it feels to me like Ren has allowed herself to have a little bit of friendly fire as a treat.
I don't think I've even really hit my own guys that much. Probably. I let them get real close.
Yeah. No, I definitely think, like, they took the worst of those barrages, for sure.
Reinforcements reported. We have new orders.
Alright,
Fire step.
who's causing us all of these problems with explosives? Who's doing that? Okay. Hey, team, you're gonna hate this.
Fire, men.
Be ready, boys. Suppression fire. Start the barrage. Ready for fire orders. Prep for barrage. Fire all guns.
Oh, that was very fun.
Stand by for orders. Fireman. Ready yourselves. You're in position.
Hey, what are y'all doing? Get in there!
You pause real quick.
Yep.
So that unit in the trench off to the left, they're on like no health. So that's the kind of unit you want to withdraw,
Ready yourselves. Ready.
so that you can just get the slot back and
This one right here?
have fresh troops come up. Yeah. So guys who are in that kind of position,
Yeah.
unless they are currently like holding a key position and they're the only one shooting, I'd like to rotate them out as soon as they are no longer.
And by
needed.
rotate them out, do you mean throw them into the firing line so they get killed?
No,
and
I
bring
hit
these
the withdraw
guys?
button.
Oh,
so
hit
that,
the withdraw
like,
button.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that hotkey.
Orders. We're withdrawing. We have new orders. Everyone pull back. We have new orders. Withdraw.
Teams ready. Load for suppressing.
Pearl Zone, do the American guys come with Tommy guns at least? No, the game is historically accurate in that the American Army kind of sucks.
Alright, folks, what are you doing? You get in those trenches. Good work.
Attention.
Be ready, boys. Suppression barrage ordered. Start the barrage.
So you do get more advanced troops. We were asking about like Tommy guns. I think you do get like some of the units you see that show up later, like trench raiders and such. I think are armed with like the sorts of advanced weapons that did start to really transform things.
God
like,
damn it.
Stand by for orders.
What?
I shift W'd by accident onto like completely fresh
We have new orders.
deployments, which is fine, I guess.
Reinforcements ready. Reporting for duty.
Reinforcements ready.
Reinforcements reporting. Arms up, boys.
We have arrived and await orders. We have
Right.
new orders.
Get up there.
On the line. Take firing positions.
Actually, yeah, let's start taking up here too.
Put your weapons down.
Ready for fire. Check
orders.
coordinates for barrage.
Fire
All guns. Load them up. Suppress at that location. We have our targets. Set position.
I'm gonna make these guys have a really bad day.
Fire. Teams suppression ready. Fire ordered. Fire on that position.
So I would take that. Yeah, take that unit's not doing anything and have them charge that trench.
Ready yourselves.
Hey, what are y'all doing?
Attention. Take firing positions. Hold this ground.
There we go.
Attention. Ready on the fire step.
Be ready, boys. Load light suppression
Start the
shells.
barrage.
Ready for fire
Load
orders.
for
suppressing barrage. Fire all guns.
We have new orders. Get in position.
Stand by for orders. Ready on the line.
We have new orders. Ready on the line. We have new orders. Get in position.
Alright, so how is this looking? Is this looking bad?
It looks like we like it. I think we're going to get objective X, and then I think we might be spent.
Load them up. Ready, full barrage.
Yeah, but they are too, probably. Right?
Pardon?
Like, they're probably also spent, correct?
Yes, they probably don't have much left either.
These guys have been annoying the hell out of me this entire time. I'm going to make them no longer be here.
Hello, Grizzytron.
Moving up.
This really great war made a good point. The downfall of every first war offensive we are spent. They probably don't have much left. Leads you to the Somme, Verdun, Passchendaele. Yeah, that's also true. Oh, yeah, you're doing a little end run. I like it. You can take out that artillery battery they've got.
Yep,
I don't know if you can
don't
take the
worry.
command trench. That's going to be tough not to crack. But that artillery battery is a big bucket of points. If you can knock it. Oh, your infantry will do it. Once they get close, they'll just like start flinging grenades.
Hey, folks, why did we leave the trench?
Sometimes they leave the trench without, for not good reasons.
Perfect, okay. Point X capture. Hey, Rob!
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they have any guys over here.
I would bet you there's 2 guys hitting that command trench, to be clear. There's probably 2 fresh units just hanging out. But it does seem like they might be out of dudes. Like...
Get in position.
Reinforcements ready.
This is not the energy... Okay, well, we're out of supplies, so we'll see if we make any further progress. Hey, team? Hey, team?
This is how you decommission artillery. You just fling... Wow!
What's up, Rob?
He's just showering it with grenades.
Oh, yeah. Alright, well, there it goes. Hey, no one's shooting at us.
No, I think you might be right. Like, just start... I would say don't put those weak guys into the command trench, but like your stronger units that are stacking up there. Go on, take that command trench.
Yeah.
We have new orders on the line. We have new orders.
Attention! On the line!
Because they've got some, like, shit hanging out over here that's not doing anything.
It's true. It's possible there's no one in those woods.
New orders. We're moving.
These guys are hurt, you know? Their lives are forfeit.
Yeah. Hey, make sure you got a steady train of guys going into that command trench.
Yeah, I do. I very much do.
We have new orders. Take fire in position.
Stand by for orders. Ready yourselves. Pick your targets.
Arms up, boys!
Hang on, they might genuinely be out of dudes.
I think they're out of dudes, Rob. Rob, I think they're out of guys. I think we fucked him up real bad.
Like, you can't take up Objective Y from the front, because they will still have, like, trench mortars and machine guns. So you can't just bring your guys who are guarding B directly over. But I would say anyone left there on defense, I would start, like, bringing them around to X and, like, start pushing up, yeah.
Honestly, I think these guys can just do this. Because I don't think there's anybody fucking here. Who we got? They got an observation balloon? Cool.
I don't know, man. I feel like I suspect there's still some shit at Y, but I don't know if there's troops. There will be emplacements. I just don't know if there's going to be troops.
We're moving.
We could always go in from the back.
It's like a ghost story. I'll bet these trenches are empty.
Get moving.
That's actually basically the plot of Death Watch.
We can't win this.
You literally can. You're fine.
Oh, yeah, dudes.
Fire in position. We can't win this. We
Alright.
have new
Well, they don't know about these guys. And these guys are full up.
No, they do. They do. They're shooting. They're...
These guys will make it in.
We surrender.
I think it is time to call ceasefire. As soon as that position locks, I would say call ceasefire.
Ready on the fire step.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Alright.
Alright, the lower right, the ceasefire button. One fine cat. What happened? How did that squad just vanish?
No one's quite sure.
We did a little recon by fire. Real close. These are big wins. The replay feature is not as interesting as you might hope. It's just like it's just like a ticker of shit going bad.
Wait, this is the one that I care about.
Oh, you looking for the
Okay.
early battle retreat?
No, I'm looking for the late ones to see how much of a hit that was. So we lost 2 surrendered, 1 retreated, 1 surrendered.
And so that was. I mean, look. So they're getting scores for allied casualties, but only got like 500 points for that. So like, you did not lose that many points in having those guys get killed.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. Oh God. Well, Rod, that was a battle. It went fine. You know what? We were supposed to stalemate.
Exactly. If you would listen to the computer, where would we be?
We did it, Rob. We did it. And you know what else we did? We completed our workday. It's 5:20.
Oh, it's true.
I'm on vacation now.
We gotta get you out of here.
Rob, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
You just click a little continue, and we'll go back to. I mean, just call it. Here, let me.
Kato?
I think Kato was in chat, right? Yeah, Kato's here.
What?
Kato's,
That's a Discord
Kato's
blue?
messaging.
Okay.
So yeah, so anyway, to wrap it up here. Thank you, Kato. Yeah, so that is the Great War Western Front. I wish we could have seen a defensive battle. Like, because then it is like you are playing the build your little trench network, have dudes run into it, and that's kind of fun too, because it's like instead of pushing people into a meat grinder to use their bodies to jam its gears so that you can win, you are instead turning the crank on the meat grinder and doing damage that way. So that's another fun. That's a fun aspect of this game as well. But yeah, like, so all of that. Wow. So you reduced their national will. We reduced their national will a fair bit in those battles, but we did not actually accomplish the kind of victory that
Anything.
reduced Perón by a star.
No,
so
we didn't.
as much damage as we did, ground was not gained. Progress was not made along that axis, at least. But hey, that's the Great War for you. That's the Western Front for you. And that is a week for Ren. And Ren is off on vacation now. And it's time for Kato and I to run the show for a few days. Who knows what we'll get up to? Maybe some motorsports. I hope some motorsports.
Hey.
Let me defend
Godspeed.
another one of my hornies.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us.
Yep, that's that. Great stream. Bye, everybody.
Oh, cut already cut.